What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Cannonballs podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Dane Cannon. Co-hosting with me today is
your boy, Jake Mother Effing Bulls on the mic 1-2. And we made it, ladies and gentlemen. We finished the regular season.
Yep. We are ready for playoff football. And, playoff football is the best football. Unfortunately, that means we are getting near the end of football for a couple months, which is unfortunate, but we still have a lot of good ball ahead of us. We had a bunch of good games that we just got to watch in week 18, some not so much. But, Jake and I, we're going to be changing the format up a little bit just so you guys have the heads up. We're basically going to be excluding power rankings just because of the fact that we got rid of, I think, 18 teams. There's, 14 teams left in the playoffs. So, we could talk a little bit about like where we think that their strengths are, and we'll go a little bit deeper and dive more into the team itself when it comes to these matchups. So we'll go a little bit more in depth there. But, guys, if you aren't already, follow us on our Instagram, Cannonballs with a Z _podcast. Jake's been doing a good job getting some stuff out there. Geez, I can't talk. It's been a little while since we've done this, it feels like. But, like, comment, subscribe. You guys know the drill. Jake, do you have anything to add before we get going?
No, I'm ready to talk about the last week. Last week, sometimes it can be pretty boring because a lot of teams are sitting their players. But, I feel like this was a pretty solid last week for the NFL. I feel like a lot of teams had a lot to play for, a lot of, winning in, a lot of above 500 records to be had, a lot of, divisions to be clinched, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a pretty good last week. Usually I kind of zone out on the last week and don't really pay attention, but there was a lot on the line. So, I was happy with it. But, let's get into the first matchup, Dane.
All right, let's do it.
So the first one was on Saturday. It was kind of a boring match. Very boring, actually. But we had the Kansas City Chiefs just absolutely manhandling. Manhandling the Las Vegas Raiders 31-13. And I really don't have too much to say about this game. The Chiefs are, unfortunately, I think they have moved into I think I like them better than the Bills at this point, unfortunately. Patrick Mahomes is just insane. I know you don't like to hear it, Dane. I don't like to say it. But he's just out of this world. I think, he's definitely surpassed, the old GOATs. He is top tier right now. And I think he runs away with the MVP at this point. Or I think he's been running away with the MVP. If Jalen Hurts stayed healthy towards the end of the season, I think he would have, battled him for that trophy. But, Patrick Mahomes is just, good, really good. But let's talk about this game a little bit. I mean, touchdowns everywhere. They got so many players on this team. Pacheco got a touchdown. Kadarius Jones. Ronald Jones, of all people. Yeah. Ronald Jones. Man, did you even, honestly, did you forget about Ronald Jones? Because I sure did.
I did. And what's funny about this game is you could tell the Chiefs were just having fun with it. I mean, there was that one trick play where they were doing, the merry-go-round. That is some, what in the frick are we doing kind of football? They're just having fun, enjoying it. They pretty much had the number one seed secured, unfortunately, because of the fact of the draw or the game that never really counted for Buffalo and Cincinnati. They tried to make sense of it by saying basically that there would be a neutral site if Buffalo and Kansas City ended up playing. Unfortunately, Cincinnati kind of got screwed out of this, which is kind of weird to hear. But, they tried to make the most out of the situation. It is a tough situation for the NFL. I get that. But coming back to this game, Chiefs just manhandled it, man. Patrick Mahomes looked good. He didn't even have to do too terribly much, though. I mean, he only threw for 202 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, they got it going on the ground. The defense stepped up big time. I mean, Jarrett Stidham, couldn't really get anything going. He had the one costly interception. Devontae Adams still looked pretty decent. Hunter Renfrow looked good. But other than that, Kansas City could basically just have their way with this team. And, the Raiders just looked bad, man. Kansas City just dominated them.
Yeah, and with that loss, the Raiders secured the number 7 draft pick in this year's draft, or in 2023's draft. And I never got to mention it, but I feel I have to say it. Don't you think it's kind of weird when we talk about the Raiders and I go, I wonder how long Derek Carr has left, and then a week later they bench him.
Yeah.
And we never got to say it, but listen to us, guys. We kind of know what we're talking about sometimes, where we have a good intuition about these kinds of things. Thank you, Dane.
You said it right at the same time, my friend.
But no, I mean, the Chiefs are just going to be, the Chiefs. They're the new Patriots, honestly. Yeah. And I mean, the stat of them. They've won the division, I think, for
7 years in a row, I believe.
7 years in a row. Andy Reid's had a winning record for 10 years. Geez Louise, man, that's just crazy. And it's going to be a three-way battle, I think, between them, the Bills, and the Bengals. And it's just, and I think the Chiefs are the best team, honestly. But the Bengals can always beat the Chiefs. But yeah, good for the Chiefs. Let's get on to the next one.
All right, let's do it. Next game, we have the Tennessee Titans traveling to Jacksonville to play the Jags. And this was a good defensive game for a lot of it. The Titans kind of were controlling their own destiny. It kind of felt like they were controlling this game for the most part. Derrick Henry looked pretty good. I mean, he ran for 109 yards, didn't have a touchdown. And the Titans defense was balling out. They really had Dobbs back. He's a backup for a reason. I mean, he's traveled all over the NFL, basically. I mean, he didn't look terrible, but he's not like your all-star elite quarterback who's going to make like amazing throws out of nowhere. He did have a good touchdown. I will give him that. Had the interception. And then Rashawn Jenkins, had that one blitz where it kind of sealed the deal for me in a way, where he forced the fumble and then the Jags had a scoop and score. But Trevor Lawrence looked pretty good, 20 of 32, 212 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. But the Titans defense really shut down the Jags running attack. And so it was, up to the receiving core of the Jaguars. And Christian Kirk led the way with 99 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets. So he really is looking like that pickup was a good deal. I mean, I don't necessarily think he was worth the money, but he's making a good case for himself. And, this Jaguars defense is playing tough, man. It is against the Tennessee Titans led by Josh Dobbs, but they looked good, man. So Titans had a good win, came back, and they scored 10 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to secure the deal for them.
Correction, Jaguars.
What did I say? Did I say Texans?
Yeah, you said Titans.
Titans. I meant Jaguars, excuse me.
All good. No, yeah, it was a close game. I was actually pretty shocked. I was surprised though. I was happy because the first game was a blowout. But no, it was close, and I think it was the Jaguars shooting themselves in the foot at the beginning. I think they had a couple of fumbles or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, how many fumbles did they have? Yeah, they had just one fumble. But just some sloppy play. But you know what? They got it done. They beat an inferior team, and unfortunately, I've been saying it, if the Titans lost this division, I would eat a brick of shit. At the time when I said that, they were up by like 6 games, all right?
Yeah.
And they literally lost every game from that time. I said, if they lose the division, I'll eat a brick of shit. So thank you, Tennessee.
Ultimate curse
for
you Titans fans, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care. I'm not a Titans fan. I like Derrick Henry, though. No, but yeah, I mean, this game was fun. It was for the division. If the Titans would have won, they would have gone to the playoffs. So it's crazy. But, good for the Jaguars. Clinched a playoff berth. And as far as the Titans, they clinched the number 11 pick in the draft. So, hopefully they do. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't want to talk. We'll talk about it in draft season, but there's many things they can do. But good for the Jags. Been a while since they've been in the playoffs. And, they get to go up against Dane's team. So woohoo!
Not only that, they get to host it. They won the division, so they have a 9-8 record, and they get to host the Chargers, who are 10-7. So good for the Jags. Good win for them. And I think they've won 5 or 6 straight. So good for the Jags. Let's move on to the next one. By the way, we did predict both of those games correctly that we just talked about, Chiefs, and we picked the Jaguars.
Yes, we did. Almost forgot to say that. Thank you, Dane.
You're welcome. Next game, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Atlanta to play the Falcons. And again, Jake and I picked Atlanta to win this game. So this is a game that we kind of figured Tampa Bay would, not necessarily play their starters an entire game just because of the fact that they won the division, they secured it. So why risk injuring your players, Brandon Staley? But yeah, I don't really want to talk too much about this game. It's kind of an irrelevant game, to be honest. I think Desmond Ridder looked pretty decent. I will give him that. Tyler Algier looked good. And, Drake London, he had a great game. And on the Buccaneer side, not so much. I mean, yeah.
Brady was in for, I think, a quarter, and then Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask came in. The Bucks, I think they're the 4th team in NFL history to make it to the playoffs with a losing record. Do they deserve to get in the playoffs over some NFC teams? Probably not, but you know what? That's just the way the cookie crumbles, and honestly, it's the GOAT. Probably can do some damage. Don't be surprised if he beats the Cowboys, honestly. The way the Cowboys played this weekend. Sorry, I shudder thinking about it. The Bucks made it to playoffs. They won a very shitty division. All these teams were pretty much right in the thick of things for the last couple of games, and the Bucks, got out with the playoff berth by the hairs of their chin. The Atlanta Falcons, however, did secure the number 8 pick in the NFL draft. So, I wonder where they'll go, but we'll talk about it draft season. Let's move on to the next game.
All right.
Next game, I have the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills.
That's the game that I have as well. And
all right. Buffalo Bills beat the...
I just want to say this really quick. This was storybook. The story behind this game is just amazing. I just want to state that. You can start, Jake. The Bills beat them 35-23. And before we talk about the game, this was for if the Patriots won. Oh. Well, if the Patriots won, they would have made the playoffs, and the Bills needed to win to, hold on to that second seed. And unfortunately, they didn't really get a chance to get the number 1 seed because all the Damar Hamlin, tragedy or whatever. He's doing okay now, so if anyone prayed or whatever, good job. But like Dane said, this shit was insane. Like the first play of the very first play of the game.
Yeah, kickoff return, Nyheim Hines. And then later in the game, he did it again.
Yeah.
Insane, man. Like, that's just awesome. The Bills players talked about it, having chills and just, that's special, man. Football is an emotional sport, and, it's a good thing. So, yeah. But back to the game, the Bills, kind of did their thing. They had their way with the Patriots. The Patriots kind of made it interesting a little bit, but it was never in doubt, at least for me. I never thought the Bills were going to screw this game up. I think Mac Jones had 3 interceptions. They never really got the run game going. Devontae Parker. Oh, you know what? Devontae Parker had a beautiful touchdown catch, I will say. If you haven't seen it, go back and look at the highlight. That was just mossed the defender. But yeah, the Bills won. They looked decent. And they played good with for Damar. So congratulations, Bills. You made it to the playoffs. That's the number 2 seed.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about this game, Dane?
I think Josh Allen looked pretty damn good for the most part. I mean, 3 touchdowns, did have the interception. Stephon Diggs looked good. Still not the best running game. You know, it's just kind of the Bills' motto. They like to pass the ball. But the Bills' defense and special teams is what won them this game, especially Nyheim Hines. I mean, having 200-plus yard kickoff return touchdowns is absolutely insane. Having one of those in a game nowadays is rare to see. Seeing 2, when's the last time a player returned 2 touchdowns for over 100 yards in a single game?
When I couldn't tell you was still in the league.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you for the last decade almost, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL's definitely like changed the rules to where, you know, kickoff and punt returns are not as likely. Unfortunately, it's probably one of the most exciting plays in NFL or in football. But I'm glad we got to see it. You know, everyone put a smile on everyone's face. And, you know, the best news about it is DeMar is feeling better. I think they moved him to a hospital. He's kind of breathing on his own now. So, you know, I wish him a steady recovery.
Did you already mention the draft order for the Patriots by any chance?
I did not. Thank you.
Patriots have the 14th overall pick in the draft. And guys, the only reason that we mention like what pick these teams have is because they're eliminated. You know, we're not really going to talk about them for pretty much the rest of the season until we get to the off season. So, you know, we'll be talking more about draft when it comes time for draft time during the off season. A lot of good stuff coming for you in the off season. Jake and I will be still producing content for you guys. Just won't be probably as much, but yeah, we'll get stuff out to you.
All right, next game. Not much to say about this game, but you know, one team successfully tanked. I will say that for the number 1 pick. The Minnesota Vikings beat the Chicago Bears 29-13, and you know, like I said, not much to talk about. The Vikings, I guess, they could have gone back to the 2 seed if the Niners and or if they would have won and the Niners would have lost and all this stuff, blah blah blah. But yeah, so I guess they were playing for that, but they ended up benching their players anyways. The Bears, you know, I think they had Nathan Peterman playing. If anybody who knows Nathan Peterman is, 4 interceptions. That's all I gotta say. In one game. But I don't know how this man still has an NFL job, honestly. But you know what? Kudos for finessing the league. But like I said, the Bears successfully tanked for the number 1 overall pick.
That they did.
I didn't watch this game. But I don't even think Justin Fields wasn't even in. They shut him down.
Yeah, and then they also brought in Tim Boyle near the end. So,
who?
Tim Boyle.
I think,
and he threw 2 interceptions.
Dude, I think I saw something on like Instagram where they were like Tim Boyle's college record or like college statistics, and they were like, how the hell did this man get in the league, bro? It was like he threw like 13 touchdowns to like 25 picks. For like 1,000 yards and like had like a point or a 50 passer rating. So you know what? Dream big, guys. You might be what's his name? Mike Boyle?
Tim Boyle.
But yeah, kudos to the Vikings. You know, after the shellacking they got last week against the Packers, you know, I still don't know about this team. I don't know about the Vikings. I still think they could potentially go 1 and done.
Yeah, I just think that it is good that they did get a win before playoffs. You know, having a little bit of momentum to ride into playoffs is always big. So good for the Vikings. It is sketchy to see what's going to happen to them because the losses that they do have in this season are massive. Like their negative point differential is insane, especially for a team that's 13-4. So, let's get back to the picks. All right. The next game, we have the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to the last game, Jake?
Yeah, real quick, we keep forgetting, but we did pick the Bills and we did pick the Vikings to win. So
we did.
So far, we are perfect.
Yep, that we are. And by the way, we both picked the Bengals in this one, and the Bengals won. You know, Lamar is still out, so that's not helping anything for the Ravens. Anthony Brown, he threw for a decent amount of yards, but he had 2 interceptions. They didn't really have much going on the ground. Kenyon Drake led it with 60 and a tutty. Isaiah Likely looked pretty good, though. Their backup tight end behind Mark Andrews. But, you know, their defense couldn't really stop Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow didn't even have to do too much. to win them this game. I mean, it was the interceptions that kind of just led to easy touchdowns for the Bengals. But I mean, Joe Burrow did enough. He had a crazy no-look pass, if I'm not mistaken, and Jamar Chase, did enough to win. So good for them. This one kind of just seemed like a give me almost, especially since Lamar's not playing. If Lamar was playing, I think this game would have been more competitive. But yeah, I don't have too much more to add. I think the Bengals just handled business.
Yeah, I hope Lamar comes back for the playoff matchup, because they are playing each other, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I hope Lamar's back. It will definitely be a lot more interesting with Lamar. But I mean, man, we haven't seen him for almost a month and a half, so I honestly don't know if he plays. But other big news in Baltimore: Roquan Smith signed a huge deal. He is now
massive.
Yeah, he's now the highest paid linebacker in the NFL. I think how much is he getting?
I think it's
60 mil?
I think it's 5 year a 5-year contract, correct?
Yeah, 5 year. I think he's getting 60 mil guaranteed and up to 100 mil. So,
Jesus.
Yeah, so boy got paid. I don't think the Bears, obviously, they weren't going to pay him that because they traded his ass. But, you went to a good organization. A lot of lineage in the Ravens' defensive repertoire. But congratulations, Roquan. But enough of this game. Both playoff teams, so they still haven't decided their draft order. Let's move on to the next one.
All right. Next game we have go ahead.
All right. Well, we have one team that doesn't know how to tank successfully. And unfortunately, I picked the Colts. Dane picked the Texans. And good job.
I thought this game was over like twice.
Yeah, and the Colts made it interesting. It was an actually interesting game, and it was just weird. And but the Texans won 32-31, and wow, man, I don't think I've ever seen this where a team is, it's such a double-edged sword because one, it's good that you got the win for the culture, for the organization, for the team morale or whatever. But then two, or on the other side of things, you don't get the number 1 overall pick. And I mean, I'm assuming, the Bears are fine with Justin Fields and the Texans are going to take a quarterback. So they probably thought maybe who gives an F or whatever, but I don't know. I still respect Lovie Smith, man. I think he's a good coach. He was just in a bad situation, and that man got fired. He did a lot with literally nothing. They have like 4 players on that team, entire team. And he got fired. So the Texans are a poverty franchise. They did secure the 2nd seed, but I mean, both these teams are.
And the Colts secured the 4th by losing this game. So good for you guys.
Yeah. So you know what? 2 teams in the same division with top 5 draft picks. I mean, do we want to talk about this game? I mean,
other than the fact that, the Texans won, I mean, this was just a tank bowl almost, like who could get a higher draft pick. And apparently the Colts could get a little bit higher and the Texans could fall a little bit. I think it was an entertaining game, to say the least, especially down near the wire. I mean, the Texans had how many 4th downs and then were able to convert them and then go for 2 and win the game. I mean, I think that was pretty impressive. Why not go for it? You literally have nothing to lose other than the 1st overall pick. But, Lovie Smith's like, if you're going to fire me anyway, might as well go out with a win. So I like the balls,
Take that number 1 pick with him.
Yeah, exactly. So it was an entertaining game. Good win for the Texans. Like Jake said, I did pick this one. Spoiler alert, I picked the first 10 correctly.
Yeah.
And then went downhill and shot myself in the foot.
Yeah, no, these teams have a lot of work to do, obviously. Yeah, and they get a top draft pick, so we will see in draft season. Moving on, we have The Miami Dolphins beating the New York Jets 11-6.
This was such a boring game, unfortunately.
I thought it was pretty entertaining. Dane picked the Dolphins. Yeah, I liked it because it was a defensive game, and it was close pretty much the whole time. But Dane did pick the Dolphins. I picked the Jets. I thought the Jets could do it. No Tua, but Skylar Thompson. He did. Enough to win, I guess. So the Dolphins, made the playoffs, and after losing how many in a row? 6. They lost 6 in a row.
They had lost a lot in a row. It was either 5 or 6. Oh,
they won their first 3, lost their next 3, then they won their next 5, then they lost their next 5, and they were 8-8. So, the Dolphins, with some help, they made the playoffs. And honestly, I wanted the Steelers to win just because I didn't want to eat a brick of shit. But I think the Dolphins are the best team that could have snuck into the playoffs. I don't think the Patriots are good. I don't think the Jets are particularly good on the offensive side of things. And I don't think the Steelers would have done anything in the playoffs. So I think the Dolphins are probably the best opportunity for a good game.
Yeah, best 7th seed that could have made it into the playoffs.
Definitely not the Titans.
Yeah, we'll see also if Tua comes back. I mean, there is a slight chance. I'm just so concerned for Tua's health, man. I mean, 3 concussions in one season is ridiculous. I mean, if he plays, they definitely have a better chance. I'll give them that. But it's like at this point, how much are you going to put your body through? So, it was like Jake said, it was a defensive game. It was enjoyable if you like defensive games. And the way that they went from 9 to 11 points was ridiculous at the end of the game. Just a funny way to get an extra 2.
Think about this, Dane. Think about how bad Joe Flacco played. And then think about how at one point in time, he was the highest paid
champion
and the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I mean, talk about a decline. I mean, geez.
Yeah, definitely didn't age well.
Yeah. So, congratulations to the Dolphins. As far as the Jets, even though, they had a losing record, this was still a vast improvement from last year.
This defense is lights out. I think that if there's one takeaway from the season for New York Jets fans, it's that you have a top 10 defense. Your defense is legit. Sauce Gardner is playing out of his freaking mind. You should be ecstatic with the fact that you guys used him in the first round. I mean, he's balling out. He is worth every penny of that first round pick, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they get to pick 13th overall in the draft. Not a bad spot to be at. It's still going to be a lot of elite talent coming out of college at that point. So good for the Jets in that regard if you're looking forward to anything during the offseason.
And, they have a lot of offensive talent. It's just, I think the best thing for them is, learning what they have with Zach Wilson, because it's so hard to write someone off who's so young. But, I mean, we've seen him for 2 seasons. And I mean, he has offensive talent. Mike White was able to do it. Mike White. So, I'm not going to make excuses for Zach Wilson. Maybe he makes an emergence somewhere, but I think I've been saying it. I think he's done in New York. Maybe he gets another shot in, I don't know, New England.
He could be another Sam Darnold. Teams took a risk on Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold wasn't good. Man, I still don't think he's great by any means, but, he's gotten chances to play as a starter in other franchises. So we'll see. I mean, someone could be willing to take a risk on the ceiling that, there is the possibility of reaching with Zach Wilson, just very unlikely.
Yeah. I'm sure the Jets are going to try to trade him. I'm sure no one's going to do it. And then I think he's just going to be released. Unfortunately, we see maybe they'll bring in some quarterback guru and unlock his talents, but not looking too bright for the MILF Slayer. But let's move on to the next game. Congratulations, Dolphins. Had a shaky season, but you made it to the dance. Next game, we have the Carolina Panthers beating the New Orleans Saints. Dane picked the Panthers. I picked the Saints. Damn, this was a close one. I really wish I would have gotten this one, but
I haven't seen so many punts in a long time. It was punt after punt after punt.
You know, speaking of Sam Darnold, look at this stat line.
Yeah, 5 for 15.
Listen to this stat line. 5 for 15, 43 yards, zero touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. A QBR of 11. But wait, folks. On the other side of things. Hey, good job, Sam Darnold. On the other side of things, we got Andy Dalton. 15 for 25, 171, 1 touchdown, the QBR of 48. You know, both these teams are in dire need of a quarterback. Yeah. They both have decent defenses, man. Like I think the Saints are more playoff ready than the Panthers. You know, this was Dennis Allen, right? That's the head coach.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was his rookie season, you know, he's going to take his lumps. I mean, he won 7 games. That's still, you know, decent. I just think they need a quarterback, man. And obviously they don't like Jameis. They benched him for Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton isn't, you know, anything to smile about if you're a Saints fan. And I don't know. I think they make some kind of free agent splash, you know, pickup, or maybe trade up in the draft. I don't know. Or, well, actually, what is their draft order?
The Carolina Panthers have the 9th overall pick.
Oh, they don't have a first overall.
Yeah.
They traded it, or they gave it to the Eagles, who are probably one of the best teams in the NFL right now and have a number 10 draft pick. Good job, New Orleans. You suck. So, you know, yeah, I don't know. Saints, and then the Panthers side of the ball, they have good players on defense. You know, they have a run game, I guess. But, you know, there's talks about them getting a quarterback, but don't they have that dude, Matt Corral or whatever his name is?
Yeah, they have Matt Corral. I mean, they didn't draft him in the first round. So, I mean, you could bring in QB competition. I think if you're at this position in the draft, I mean, there is some good talent out there. You know, you have CJ Stroud, Will Levis, who could possibly fall to the 9th overall pick. We'll see. I don't think that'll happen. I think Will Levis has the highest chance of reaching them. And his ceiling's pretty high, but I mean, he is a pretty inconsistent quarterback. We'll see. Getting back into the draft, you know, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, I think they could possibly go quarterback. Honestly, I mean, bringing QB competition is never a bad thing, especially you haven't even played Matt Corral, so why not?
All right. Let's move on to the next one, Dane. Unless you got anything else to say about that boring matchup.
No, let's do it.
This next matchup, pretty good, I guess. We both picked the winner. The Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Cleveland Browns 28-14 to maintain Mike Tomlin's above 500 record. And I will say this. Yeah, 14 years in a row. But I will say this. I said I had a little for my Titans thing, losing the record. I said if the Steelers make it to the playoffs, it cancels out. But they didn't make it to the playoffs because the stupid Dolphins won. The Patriots lost, the Jets lost. No, I needed the Jets to win. Who else? Oh, and the Steelers won. So, 2 out of 3, so close. But, they maintained that winning record for Mike Tomlin.
So, Jake, really quick, since you're actually not going to eat a brick of shit, otherwise I would seriously have some reservations about our friendship. What are you going to do instead? What are you going to do as a punishment?
I'm thinking either the next episode next week, because I'll either be really, actually, both of us will be either really happy or really sad. But I think I'll eat a Pocky chip. I've never done it, and
Do the one chip challenge. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just saying, if you want to see one of us do the Pocky one chip challenge, before Jake and I got into actually doing a football podcast, we did stupid stuff. Like, we just did random conversations, and on our Instagram, we actually have a video. Or is it on our is it on our Cannibals one?
it should be.
It should be on our Cannibals Instagram. If you guys want to check it out, I actually did the Pocky One Chip Challenge live, and I posted the video on our Instagram at Cannibals with a Z _ podcast. It's very painful, but like I told Jake, the worst part isn't the burn. Like, you can deal with the burn. Like, Jake and I eat spicy food all the time. It's the stomach cramps. I had stomach cramps for about 2 hours. It was miserable. I thought I was literally going to have to call 911 because I thought I was going to die. It was horrible. I had to lay in fetal position and like run a warm bath to help my stomach cramps. But I digress. And let's get back to what we were talking about.
Real quick, I just think it's funny because, I'm a 49ers fan, and I saw some tweet that this 49ers page that I follow posted, and it was this guy who's saying, if the 49ers win 10 games in a row to go 13-4, I'll eat a fried shirt, or I'll air fry a shirt. So he's actually following through. He's not going to eat a whole shirt, but he's going to eat like possibly a piece of a shirt or or something. He's going to find something equally disgusting. So I respect that. And you know what? I'm a man of my word. I cannot eat shit though, because that's disgusting. All right. Like Dane said, we might not be friends anymore if I eat shit. So I will eat a brick of shit figuratively, and I will be in pain next week. So stay tuned for that. But,
bro, you guys are the Pocky one chip. I will laugh so hard.
I'm a man of my word, baby. I'm a man of my word. I talk shit, you know.
Hey, I'll FaceTime you when you're crying from the stomach cramps. Don't worry.
I'm doing it while we record, baby.
Okay. Actually, the stomach cramps didn't hit for at least an hour. It took a while for it to kick in.
Maybe I should wait. Maybe I should do it like an hour before we record.
Don't do it. Oh my god. It will literally be the worst recording ever. You'll just be like
all right, let's get back to this game. Sorry about that, folks. But yeah, the Steelers maintain their win streak, or Mike Tomlin really maintained their win streak, and they look pretty good actually.
Yeah, the defense came alive in this game for sure.
Dude, like I wasn't really like too in love with Kenny Pickett, but the more I was watching him lately, I actually do like him. I think he's the second best rookie quarterback in the class. No, I mean, yeah, he did good. He did good for them, and I think that's exactly what the Steelers need. You know, they don't need some flashy player. They need a kind of blue collar kind of guy, and that's what Kenny Pickett seems like.
And they got a steal with George Pickens. I mean, George Pickens is one of the best handed receivers as a rookie. I mean, this man just does not drop passes. Mm-hmm. They got a steal with him because he had the injury at Georgia. And, you know, Najee Harris had a good game this game as well. 84 yards, a touchdown. Did only average 3.7, but, you know, it was enough to win. Sorry to cut you off. You can.
No, you're good, man. I mean, I don't have much more to say about this game, but I will say this team, if Kenny Pickett can build off what he did and George Pickens can build off what he did, this team might be a playoff. They were a playoff contender technically, but I think they might actually be legit next year. I think Najee Harris needs to step up because he did have an off year, but you know,
I think a lot of that falls on the offensive line personally.
Yeah.
I think the Steelers need to kind of draft offensive line in a way. I think that they can develop their defense. Their defense definitely stepped up in the second half of the year. I mean, they were getting torched in the beginning, but I think they made some adjustments that kind of set things a little bit straight. But they could draft both sides of the ball. Don't get me wrong. Like you said, I think that they'll be contenders for playoffs next year for sure. I mean, they were contenders this year for playoffs. So.
So both these teams didn't make playoffs, but where is the Browns pick? The Steelers end up with the 17.
I think they got rid of the Browns. Houston Texans get the Browns pick at number 12 because they got Deshaun Watson.
There it is. Okay, I was looking for it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
and
like
Pittsburgh gets the 17th.
Yep, very good. Both teams. Well, mainly the Texans. Actually, the Texans now have 2 first-round picks, so maybe they'll trade one of those picks down and actually build their team. But you know what? The Texans are trash, and they probably won't. They'll probably draft 2 quarterbacks, honestly. Let's move on. This game, we both picked the Steelers. This game hurt me the most out of my pick'ems. I would have won one of my pick'ems by. I would have won if I would have won this game. God. Now I know how it feels to be a Chargers fan sometimes. But the Denver Broncos beat the Los Angeles Chargers 31-28. And, I'm going to let you take this one away, Dane. I know you have a lot to say.
Yeah, so Brandon Staley had previously said that the outcome of which game was it? Who did it matter? Who did they have to watch? Like, they had to watch someone who was an earlier game where if they lost
the Jags Titans.
No. It was the
Patriots
Bengals Ravens, because the Ravens and the Chargers both had a 10-6 record. So if the Ravens lost them, they would be Jesus Christ. Oh my God. So no, it came down to the Bengals Ravens game. If the Ravens lost, then the Chargers secured the number 5 seed, which happened. So every Chargers fan was thinking, all right, maybe play your starters for a drive or two.
Real quick. Even I said that. I was like, oh, dang, now you get like a free buy. Cool.
Exactly. And, I was hoping that they would play a little bit. I wasn't expecting 3 full quarters and having players get injured. So I think that's why Brandon Staley's getting a lot of heat, rightfully so, in my opinion. The starters shouldn't have been playing as much as they were. I know they were going into the game with the intention of winning and riding the momentum in there. But you have to understand, you just secured the number 5 seed before you even had to play. So you're basically playing for nothing other than to make sure your players don't get rusty going into playoffs. However, you have Mike Williams go down, where good news is it's only back spasms and a contusion. There's nothing broken and no cartilage or muscle tears or anything like that, which is good. But he is day to day, so he may not even play. I will say that the Chargers offense looked good. However, they gave the ball up on fumbles. Austin Eckler fumbled and DeAndre Carter fumbled. Justin Herbert looked phenomenal. Herbert was slinging the ball all over the place, looked phenomenal. Super happy about that going into playoffs. And especially since Mike Williams went down, I think in like the second quarter, he was doing it without him and he still looked good. The defense went right back to where they were before they went on that 4-game winning streak, and they were giving up big play after big play. I will say that part of me wants to believe, and part of me does believe, that some of the defensive players were not playing 100%. Derwin James, one of the best safeties in the NFL, looked like he could give a shit less. Looked like he didn't want to tackle as much, didn't look like he wanted to run as fast. Maybe he didn't want to get injured. Maybe some of them were saying, hey, I don't want to get injured. I'm not going to try as hard. That could be a possibility. Either way, Denver shellacked them with the big plays. Russell Wilson looked better. Who knows? Maybe Nathaniel Hackett was the reason Denver wasn't looking good, because as soon as he got fired, Denver's offense actually did look a lot better with Russell Wilson and the interim head coach. So I will give them that. Either way, Chargers still put up 28 points. Chase Daniels came in after the third quarter. So at that point, the Chargers were going to lose more likely than not. And they did. So, they could have won if they kept their starters in. But then again, even if they did win, it would have been meaningless. So.
Yeah, so we both picked the Chargers to win, and they both royally fucked us. It's hard to believe that a coach can be the problem when I don't even think he was making the play calls. But, Russell Wilson threw for almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception, and then Latavius Murray had a game. That's what still worries me about the Chargers. I know they were stepping up a little bit, but like you said, hopefully it was just, kind of not your head's not really in the game because, you're kind of thinking about playoffs. I don't know. Either way, it's a little worrisome for me, but,
Same. I would agree that it's worrisome. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Broncos, man. I get like, part of me is like, yeah, I get like benching your players, but you also want to go into the playoffs with momentum, and you want to go in beating your division opponents. Like that feels good, man. Sending them with a worse record and no draft picks, because guess what? Denver Broncos don't have a draft pick. They have they gave Seattle the 5th overall pick. Thank you, fucking Denver. Fuck you. No, I mean, I think the Chargers will be fine. Hopefully, cross my fingers. But it's just we'll see you next year because there's already talks of the Broncos interviewing DeMeco Ryans, a defensive headed coach, but
also Sean Payton.
Yeah, so I mean, I think they should go with Sean Payton because the team doesn't need defensive help; they need offensive help. And the offensive guru can unlock Russell Wilson, plays his strengths. They have weapons. Like that's not that's not hidden from the league. It's just they don't know how to play together, I think, or they don't know how to use their weapons. So I don't know. We will see. We will see where the Broncos. It's going to be, they're going to be under constant scrutiny until Russell Wilson lives up to that contract, until Russell Wilson lives up to that trade. It's going to go down as one of the worst in history unless Russell Wilson can step up next year. So we will see. But congratulations to the Chargers. I mean, they secured the playoff spot a couple weeks ago, but, they haven't made it in how many years? 4 years? 5 years?
2018.
So it's what? 2023?
So technically
5 years.
4 years.
4 years?
4 years since, because the 2018 season rolls into the 2019 playoffs. So
that's when they lost to the Ravens, right?
No, they beat the Ravens wild card weekend and then got shellacked by the Patriots.
Is that when
you and Bree came over when you first did your keto diet, and I was drinking Bloody Marys all day, and then I really got drunk because it was a shellacking.
I don't even remember that. But cool. All right, yeah. Congratulations, Chargers. Broncos got a lot of work to do. Let's move on. Next game. What do we got, Dane?
I have the New York Giants traveling to Philly to play the Eagles.
Yep.
All right.
That's what I got too.
So this one meant nothing to the Giants, and I think they did it better than the Chargers because they actually let their players rest. Which kind of made it seem like the Eagles were going to win this one, which they did. I thought it would have been by a bigger margin, but, I think that the Giants defense still played pretty decent. And, Jalen Hurts, this was his first game back after missing, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I think it was 2 weeks.
I think it was
it 3? 2, 3?
Anyway, it might have been 3.
Jalen Hurts comes back, didn't look the best, but, it's good that he went out there and kind of knocked some of the rust off after missing a couple weeks. So the Eagles did enough to win. A.J. Brown looked pretty good. Boston Scott actually looked okay running the ball. And the Eagles defense did enough to, prevent the Giants with their backups in to win. So good job for the Eagles.
Yeah, not much to take away. I mean, the Eagles, it was a long shot for them to lose 3 in a row, to give up. I mean, if the Eagles would have lost, they would have dropped to the 5th seed. 49ers would have gotten the number 1. It would have been a travesty if the Eagles, well, depending on what kind of fan you are. If you're a 49ers fan, you could care less. But if you're an Eagles fan, it would have been a travesty for you. And but you know what? They got the job done. They had such a far lead compared to the rest of the NFL that, they could afford those 3 losses that they got or whatever. So they finished the season, regular season. What's their record? Shoot. 14-3. So they finished the season with 14-3. I think I think that's still the best record in the NFL.
Yes, I believe so.
And like we said earlier in the big off season, we like the Eagles. Super easy schedule this year. The NFC East came to play, so I guess it wasn't as easy. I don't know. It's so hard when you talk about schedule strength.
Because every team changes year to year. So,
Yeah.
like the Jets, like one of the easiest teams to beat last year, ended up being a hard out this year because how good their defense was and how well they drafted.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if you can really base how you feel about a team based on strength of schedule anymore. I'm kind of like leaning away from that because, I mean, I don't know. It's hard. You just got to look at the team and how they look against how they play every week, and so. But good job, Eagles. Good job, Giants. You both make the playoffs. Eagles, you get a bye. Giants, you got a date with Minnesota.
Very winnable game.
Yeah, honestly, I think the Vikings can do it, or the Eagles, the Giants. Shit, I think the Giants can do it. We'll see though. I think it'll be a good game. But congrats to both. Let's move on. Next, I have the 49ers beating the Arizona Cardinals 38-13. And 49ers end the regular season 10 wins in a row, which has only been done a handful of times in NFL history, which is awesome. On the back of Brock Purdy, really. I mean,
he just looks good. He just looks good. I was the first couple of weeks I was like waiting for the fall off, but he hasn't played worse. Like, yeah, he's maybe thrown an interception or two here and there, but like he still looks the same. Like he doesn't look rattled. He still plays with the same intensity. He still plays with the same. I don't know. He just got a little swagger to him, and I like it a lot. I will say the beginning of this game was a little close. It was, I was just, the Cardinals got the 49ers on a trick play. AJ Green, I'm sure that dude's going to retire too. He's older than JJ Watt, I believe. And this was JJ Watt's last game, so it was pretty cool to see that. I probably wouldn't have watched it all the way if it wasn't a 49ers game, but I got to. And, JJ Watt had a game, and, what a hell of a career. JJ Watt is one of the GOATs of defense. But back to the game, the Cardinals didn't have anybody out there. Their best player out there was Marquise Brown. He really didn't do much. I don't think he did anything. He had one catch. Their receiving leader was AJ Green off the trick play, which was 77 yards. He had 5 targets, and 77 of his 91 came from the one trick play. Other than that, they couldn't do anything on the ground. Corey Clement, who led the team with 23 yards on 8 attempts with 1 tutty. But then it just went downhill. Then it was interception. Defense for the 49ers just stepped up and destroyed the Cardinals, unfortunately.
Yes, not unfortunately. But, we got Elijah Mitchell back this game. He ended up getting 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey had a receiving touchdown. George Kittle is just that connection is real between him and Brock Purdy. He had 2 touchdowns in this game. Toasted Isaiah Simmons, the man who was built to cover him. But, this was great for the 49ers, after last week against the Raiders where they looked a little shooken. They started the game a little shaky, but, they took care of business against an inferior team. And I like the momentum going into the playoffs. They got the number 2. They got a date with Seattle again. 3 times in the one season. It's going to be fun. It's in San Jose, whatever.
Santa Ana.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a fun matchup. And the Cardinals secured the number 3 overall pick.
Yep.
So
they're gonna get either a great defensive player or they might go quarterback if they say fuck Kyler Murray.
Yeah, so I could talk about the Cardinals, but I think they're in because they're already. I've already
It's like
had some,
rebuild now.
yeah, they're in rebuild. There are already talks about them trading DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
J.J. Watt is retiring. Kyler Murray's hurt. They fired Cliff Kingsbury.
Their general manager's gone.
Yeah, and all the talks about Sean Payton going to the Cardinals, I don't see it happening at this point. What's he gonna do? Coach a 38-year-old AJ Green and Marquise Brown? I mean, Marquise Brown is a solid too, but he's not a number one. It's gonna be interesting what the Cardinals do because there is a lot of question marks. But we'll see, man. We will see. But good win for 49ers. I love it. Let's move on to the next game.
All right, who you got?
Next game, this is actually a really close one. I was really hoping that the Rams could pull the upset. Well, we both picked the 49ers. But I think
So
in my pick'ems.
Yeah, for this I said because we wanted Detroit to make it. So we said, all right. I originally said Seattle, and Jake had convinced me. He was like, Dane, but what about Detroit? And I was like, you know what? You're right. F Seattle. I'm going Rams all the way. And this was more of a pick with the heart where we wanted other teams to end up. We both pretty much knew Seattle should have won this game, which they ended up winning.
I will say this. As far as the podcast, I went with the Rams, but for the money, I picked the Seahawks. But
so Jake, I'll tell you this right now. This is the reason I didn't win the pool. No, I didn't. I picked the Rams.
No, Dane!
So get this. There was another game. Which one was it? It was, oh my God, which was the other game? There was one other game where I cannot remember. Keep talking. I'll figure it out.
Hold on, I gotta let my dog out. Just enjoy the silence for a second.
Yeah, I'll be able to edit this out. It's not a problem. Actually, yeah, Jake, you know what? That was the only game. So because I missed
the Chargers. You didn't pick the Chargers?
No, I did pick the Chargers. They screwed me over. But here's the thing, because I ended up picking Detroit for the last game, which Detroit does win. So I picked this week out of the 17. What was it? 17 games?
16.
So out of the 16 games, I guess 13 correct in my Pick'ems league.
Bro.
If I would have gotten 14, I would have won. And it's because I stuck with the Rams.
Oh my God. I mean, it was very close. They could have won it. They probably should have. It was just field goals all day in this game. Seattle missed it to go into overtime. And honestly, it was just the Rams really couldn't do a whole lot on offense.
Yeah, Geno Smith didn't look particularly great this game either. I mean, he had the 2 interceptions. I mean, he did enough. Kenneth Walker looked good, though. He was rushing the ball well. Rams, it was a competitive defensive game, I would say, for a good portion of this, with some big plays here and there. And Cam Akers is looking better, dude. I don't know what happened. Like, why wasn't this the Cam Akers we saw at the beginning of the year? Like, they couldn't run the ball at all. And then out of nowhere, like the last 4 games of the season, the Rams just decided to run the ball with Cam Akers, and he looks good.
Yeah, no, he does. I agree with you. So the Rams almost won. Seattle, had to win, and they had to have Green Bay lose to make the playoffs. No. Yeah.
Are you talking about Seattle?
Yeah, they had to have Green Bay. They had to have Green Bay lose, correct?
Yep, they had to have Green Bay lose, which
they
did.
Had to have. Yeah, so they had to have win and have a little help. So yeah, now they get a date with the 49ers. The Rams, a lot of questions in the offseason. And again, I've been saying this for the last couple weeks. I was questioning whether McVay wanted to stay in LA, and there's already talks about him questioning his future. So, I would say he's probably 60-40, considering leaving.
He has even mentioned that he's allowing his other coaches on the team to look for jobs and careers outside of the LA Rams. And by the way, the Rams do not have a first-round pick next year.
Yeah, they gave it to the Lions, who now have the number 6 pick in the draft. So the Lions are going to get better, man. Watch out for the Lions, for real.
Yeah, the Lions have had so many first-round picks in the last 2 years, and then they have the 6th overall pick. They also have the 18th overall pick, which we will get to.
Hell yeah, boy.
Anything else to add about this game, Jake?
No, it was just really about the Rams. I wanted to say, don't call me crazy. I have a hunch about these things, but McVay looking, a little scared, doesn't want to stay in division. Looking pretty good for the 49ers and Seahawks, honestly. The only teams with some what's the word? What's the word, Dane? Some stability. There it is. All right,
stability.
Let's move. Yes. All right. Next game. This game was just absolutely pathetic. Just goddamn absolutely pathetic. Sorry, I'm pulling out the Stephen A. This is why nobody trusts the Cowboys. Oh, goddamn. God freaking damn. Sorry to yell, people, but the Commanders just absolutely curb stomped the shit out of the Cowboys. 26-6. Sam Howell.
They finally let him play, and he looked better than Carson Wentz. He looked better than Taylor Heineke in some games.
Yeah. No, I honestly agree with you. I still think Ron Rivera deserves to be fired. Just for benching Taylor Heineke and for not knowing, his playoff chances or whatever. But, I don't know if Taylor Heineke was hurt, but Sam Howell did look good. He could potentially be the future. They still have a lot of pieces on this team. They have 2 pretty decent running backs, good wide receiver core, and a solid defense, especially next year when, cross your fingers,
Chase Young plays the whole season.
Yep. Yeah, that D-line, that front is going to be nasty if he plays the whole season. And, it showed. They freaking stomped the shit out of the Cowboys. I mean,
what's been going on with Dak? He's had an interception in the last, 7 games?
Yeah. I think they said he's thrown 11 interceptions in the last 7 games. That's pathetic.
Dude, on 37 dropbacks and pass attempts, he only completed 14. I think that's in like the 40 or 30 percentile of completions.
Yeah, he had a QBR of 14.
Yeah, that's bad.
He threw a pick 6. And the crazy thing is, the play before, they tried to run the same play, and the cornerback jumped the route. And then they tried to do the same thing. What? If the Cowboys lose to the Bucs, there's going to be hell to pay in Dallas. There's going to be some firings. Mike McCarthy's going to be on his way out. I believe that wholeheartedly. I think they would way rather upgrade to a Sean Payton.
Yeah.
I think if they fire Mike McCarthy, that's the likeliest place for Sean Payton to go. That's place with most offensive weapons.
Good defense, great defense for the most part.
Good market, good culture, I guess. The only thing I could see him deterring is, having to deal with Jerry Jones. He might not want to deal with that. But again, this is why nobody trusts the Cowboys. This is why everybody thinks they're going to go one and done. And this is why everybody thinks the Bucs can beat the Cowboys. I mean,
and the Bucs get to host them.
Yeah. The Bucs get to host the 8.
Cowboys are 12-4?
Dude, if they lose to the 8 and 9, what we have to do something.
Yeah, 12-5.
We have to do something if they lose. I mean, my head says pick the Cowboys, but I don't think they're gonna win. I don't. It was just an absolutely pathetic showing. I really don't have any more to say about this game. Dan, you got anything?
No. Yeah, this was just bad. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. It kind of made me feel better about the Chargers losing to the Broncos because, like, the Cowboys, they were playing their starters also, and then they got shellacked. So
They played their starters the whole game,
yeah,
and they got shellacked. I mean, I guess they were trying. I mean, if they would have won and the Eagles would have lost and the 49ers would have lost, they would have gotten the number 1 seed, which, cool. But, like, what? They're the 5th seed now? They're the 5th seed, right?
I think so.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think about the Cowboys, honestly. Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about it on our playoff preview, but let's move on to the last game of the week of the regular season. And you know what? The regular season ended with a bang, and we also picked the Cowboys, and that did not work. So, thank you, Cowboys.
That did not work. No.
Yes.
We did pick Detroit.
Yes, we did, sir. Yes, we did. And the Detroit Lions beat the Green Bay Packers to send them home to prevent them from going to the playoffs 20-16.
Yeah, and
Man.
the Detroit Lions found out earlier that day that they weren't going to the playoffs because Seattle won.
Yep.
So since Seattle won, Detroit was officially eliminated at that point. And what do they want to do? They want to take the Green Bay Packers with them. Misery loves company, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? Detroit succeeded in that. So, Detroit fans, you can rest your heads held high because that was a hell of a way to end the season without going to playoffs. You take the Green Bay Packers, the team that's been winning the division for years, continuously, year in, year out, except for 1 year the Bears decided to show up. And now apparently the Vikings want to show up. But, Aaron Rodgers was talking mad shit. The entire Green Bay franchise was basically talking down to the Detroit Lions. And guess what? Detroit has the last laugh, especially Jamal Williams, man. Like, did you see his interview?
Yeah, where he's crying.
I mean, immediately goes to talking bad shit back to the Packers. Like, that was one of the most polar opposite interviews I've ever seen. But Jamal Williams, he had a hell of a game, 2 touchdowns, 72 on the yards. Jared Goff looked decent, didn't throw for a touchdown, but he had 224, no touchdowns, didn't have any interceptions though. And the Detroit defense stepped up, man. They stepped up when they needed to, and good for Detroit, man. Aaron Rodgers didn't look that good, man. 205, 1-1. They couldn't get much going on the ground. Christian Watson still looks really good.
Okay. We need to talk about two of the most boneheaded things I've seen in a long time.
We're talking about Quay Walker?
Well, first, I think it was Rasul Douglas, where he tried to stop them from hiking the ball. And then he just gets a 15-yard penalty. And dude, you're in win or go home and you're doing that shit, you deserve to be fired. And then Quay Walker, man, this is not the first time.
Exactly. Yeah. It's multiple times. So you're starting to think what is he doing? Why? I liked him coming out of the draft. I thought he was a good prospect, but this is where off the field and apparently on the field shit comes into play, because that's personality. That's characteristic. That is who you are as a person. And that's just dumb. That is just dumb.
I mean,
and it's not even a player that he shoves.
Yeah.
It's medical personnel. Medical.
Yeah.
Why?
It was just a complete lapse of judgment. He is a rookie, but I still don't think there's an excuse for that. I mean, he's going to get fined for that for sure.
Oh yeah. He got ejected from the game too.
And I think maybe it's a little drastic, but if he was a veteran, if he was played for a couple years, his ass would have been cut. I guarantee you. I don't think they will, because he's a first round draft pick, and he's actually pretty good. He led the team, or he tied the team for tackles with 7 solos, but man, you can't do that, man. Like, that reminds me of, that's worse than what's his name last year? Dude from Notre Dame who just got traded to the Bears. Chase Claypool. When Chase Claypool was trying to celebrate getting the first down and, just getting time off the clock. Like, that one, not as bad as this one. This one's just bad. Yeah, geez Louise, man. But, good for the Lions. Have a winning record. First time in, like...
I don't know how long.
Yeah.
Since Matthew Stafford was there.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to look that up.
Megatron?
Yeah.
Has it been that long?
Yes. And the best thing is you have if you're a Detroit Lions fan, you have so much to look forward to. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have a young team with talent. Jared Goff played his best. There was times when Jared Goff looked god awful this year. Like, I'm not gonna lie, but you know what? He stepped up at the end of the season where it matters, and he almost brought his team to the playoffs. And speaking back to the Rams, if Stafford, if McVay retires, I don't see Matthew Stafford staying there. What does he have to play for? He's got a ring. He's right. So what if he retires? That trade, the Rams Detroit Lions trade, could look at like one of the worst trades in NFL history. Just all those draft picks. Jared Goff.
I don't know if it would end up being one of the worst though, because it did end in at least a Super Bowl. So the longevity of the picks, I agree. Like the trade, if it went to like long term, how it screwed over the franchise. But if you win the Super Bowl, you can't say that's a bad trade because they did win.
Yeah, I mean they did win. It worked out in their favor, but
it's like a one and done.
Yeah, and this team is going to go into the dark ages. Mark my words. As far as the Rams, they're going to go back to the bottom of the division where they belong. But you know what, folks? That was the final game of the regular season. 2022 is in the books. 2023. I don't know. The
2022 is in the books, and we're starting 23 playoffs. There we go.
Man, what a bunch of ups and downs this year. Man.
Yeah. It's definitely been a wild season. It's definitely been an entertaining season to say the least. But guys, like, comment, subscribe, talk shit to us. Follow us on our Instagram, Cannonballs with _podcast. Reach out to us, give us insight into your teams. One thing that I think we would both appreciate is tell us what you think your team needs. For those of you who are looking forward to the offseason and draft time, let us know. Like, hit us up, send us a message on our Instagram. We'd love to talk with you guys. Maybe we could even do a promotion where we send out a Discord for you guys and we could all talk together, talk some ball. I think that would be enjoyable time to time. And, it'll help me and Jake out because, we have to cover all 32 teams. We don't have as much time as we would like. We're both working full-time jobs while doing the podcast. So if this was our full-time job, by all means, we should have more knowledge, but we don't. So if you guys could help us out, we'd greatly appreciate that. It's been a fun regular season, but guess what? Next episode that's coming out, playoffs, baby. Playoffs.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. And as always, peace.